This is Athletes as Educators with former pro basketball player, championship winning coach, and author Angela R. Lewis. Angie Lewis interviews current and former athletes who are passionate about sharing the lessons they've learned and the experiences that have shaped their lives. Welcome to the Athletes as Educators podcast with Angela R. Lewis.
Hey everyone, welcome back. This is Angie Lewis. I am really excited about this recap of the business segment. As you know, we switched the format on the podcast and we have 4 segments now. One about business, one about books, one about philanthropy, and another one about social justice. And this segment specifically is about business and athletes or sports professionals who have now transitioned into business owners. The recap that we're going to do today is of a conversation I had with Anita Maxwell. Anita Maxwell played in the WNBA. She went to college at New Mexico State, and she was the first player in NCAA history, men or women, to score 2,500 points, grab 1,000 boards, and have over 300 steals. And Anita now has a company called SuccessFull Living. And SuccessFull Living really helps people understand the spirit of excellence and how to accomplish their goals. And part of accomplishing their personal goals is through financial management advice and teaching people about financial literacy. And on our podcast a few months ago, Anita launched a treasure transformation where she agreed to invite 6 people over the course of 6 months, where she would help them with their finances free of charge, and she would chart their journey. And I personally know some of the people who she helped, and they have saved thousands of dollars, which is pretty remarkable. But what I love most about Anita is that she's serious about this work and serious about helping people and really wants to create a positive impact, so much so that she launched her own radio show called SuccessFull Living Radio. And I love working with Anita. I help produce it on the Global Athlete Media Network. And Anita's podcast, radio show / podcast, she interviews some pretty dynamic people, share their experiences, they give tips on life. And so I think you're going to love this interview that I have with Anita. And Anita's going to talk about some of the things that she's doing now and how she started a business, why she started a business, and why business ownership is really important to financial freedom. Check it out. Remember, you can hit me up on Instagram, Angie_R_Lewis. Hit me up on Twitter, Angie_R_Lewis. And the same thing on Facebook, Angie R. Lewis. Talk to you soon. Let's talk about SuccessFull Living in your current company. How did you get started in the financial services industry, and why is this your passion?
Well, let's see. A couple of years ago, I had been recruited to move to South Carolina to be a part of starting a health insurance company that was coming about as a part of the Affordable Care Act. Mm-hmm. And so they brought me in because they felt like, we have a lot of people in the insurance industry. I was not from the insurance industry, but they wanted me because I was a community relations professional. And so my career was about bridging the gap between the corporation and the community so that they at least were on the same playing field. Often the community may feel that a company is moving in and pulling from their resources but not giving anything back. Mm-hmm. And so it was my job to educate people on what was about to happen. And this company was being proactive because they were saying, look, this is going to happen in about 1.5 years. So we have about 1.5 years to lay the groundwork, to get out and really connect with the community. Well, that was a different way of doing business for insurance companies because historically, the broker or the agent has always worked with the company. They've never had to work with the individual. Mm-hmm. So they realized they needed to do something a bit more creative about how do you now touch everyday people who need to understand insurance, because the Affordable Care Act was now moving more of that sign-up process to the individual. So they hired me to come in and we were knocking on doors. We were at churches, we were at small groups. I mean, just anywhere we could be, educating people on what is a deductible. Do you understand what's about to happen? Regardless of what your political affiliation it is the law. So let's at least make sure that you can make an informed decision when it happens. Mm-hmm. So we did that for about 1.5 years and were wildly successful to the point where we had to start scaling back because we were growing faster than we needed to in such a short period of time in this new model of health insurance. But I found that the part that I loved the most was the touching of the people. You know, everything I've ever done in my community relations, sales, marketing, anything I've ever done with my background, I went through a phase where I was trying to figure out what's my purpose and my passion in all of this. And I learned just in my own personal development that it's not about a job title. It never has been. I looked at no matter what job I had or what the company was, what was the common thread that ran through all of those? And it was who I was and who I was becoming in the process. And so what drove me the most was when I had a chance to sit down with a person who maybe had never had insurance before and help them explain the value of it or why they needed it or what something meant, and to see that light bulb go off for them. And them think, wow, it was that simple? Well, no, it's not so much that it was that simple. I think a lot of things are, in fact, but who takes the time to explain it to us in a way that we can understand it? So when you talk about my financial services background, I was ready to grow from that particular position with that company. I appreciate the opportunity they gave me, but it wasn't the kind of life I wanted, in that it was a lot of work and I rarely had time for anything else. For me, I'm not a person where money is my driver. Of course, I expect to be compensated for the work, but it's not my primary driver. And